Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Infollion Expert podcast series where we bring together industry leaders to discuss trends, challenges, and the future of businesses. Today, we are delighted to host Mr. Neeraj Mahajan, an automotive businesses leadership and transformation expert with over 30 years of experience in automotive OEM and auto components industry. So, would you like to add something and say about yourself?
Thank you, Shruti. Much appreciate to have this conversation, and thank you for inviting me on this. I
Absolutely.
think I'm right now, advising the PE fund and also some of the family businesses working with the promoters to ensure that they start to think for the future,
Right.
uh, journey for themselves and for the family and organization.
Right.
Um, yeah, I've till recently worked as a Group President and CEOs for companies like Minda Corporation and also for Uniproducts. Thank
Thank
you
you
for
so
it.
much, sir. Thank you so much. And it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us today.
Its pleasure is mine too. Thank you.
So, sir, we would like to know some of your perspectives in, like today's automotive industry is evolving rapidly and with changing customer expectations, increasing competition, and also, technological advancements. So, from your lens, what would you think are the key factors that drive profitable growth in today's automotive industry?
I think it's a very, very important question in today's marketplace, especially the relevance we have for the geopolitical situation of the world, including automotive. We require to look at it in two perspectives. One, where the organization stand today, and where the organization will stand post this turmoil is a little bit more settled, because every, let's say, 7 to 10 years we have seen, I've seen three recessions in my career. So 7 to 10 years you will have a transformation of the industry move from point A to point B,
Right.
and it takes takes down some of the brands which have been iconic in the past. But how the organizations are going to be remain profitable in today's situation, I would say basically two or three key points. First, how well they read the future and customer behavior need. This is very,
Right.
very critical, and I'll give you examples. So to substantiate my thought process, I'll talk about both OEM and auto component because
Auto.
I have that experience, so that can be useful for the audience at large. Second is also wherever you are playing. For example, if four-wheeler makers, those who are global in nature, or four-wheeler makers, those who are Indian, let's say brands like Mahindra and Tata, and some of the bike makers, we are very proud the country today to have three large brands grown out of the country: TVS, Bajaj, and Hero. Those who are having multiple overseas production locations,
Right.
there we should know regulatory changes. I think these two factors are very critical, in my opinion, to remain relevant and continue to remain profitable in terms of today's auto industry. I would give examples. For example, you have very, very stable groups, OEMs like Toyota and, Tesla. In spite of, continuous change in the environment, they have, as I mentioned, kept themselves reading the customer needs of today and for future well in control, or well in planning. Because car model takes about, or automotive model takes between 24 months to 36 months before it is rolled out. So you are adding the
Right.
features accordingly. And second, for example, a car company like Toyota, because I've worked with them for a long duration, they understand the regulatory needs, forthcoming regulatory needs, in a very, very scientific way, and how they incorporate that into their product is something which is very critical. So I think these two factors, if they are kept in mind, organization, when they reach that milestone to introduce the product, these car makers or these automakers have kept themselves ready for these changes, whether the customer need change or the regulatory need change,
Regulatory
in a
needs.
very smart way. And when they introduce the product, customer automatically wait for the product. And Innova
Right.
Hycross is one great example from Toyota in this market
Right.
situation.
Right.
Now, When I look at it from the auto, I already spoke about TVS, Bajaj, and Hero. These companies have also, after separation with the large brands which they had partnered in the past, has very smartly identified that they require to remain relevant by again, customer behavior change related need, at the same time regulatory change. And these three companies have very heavily invested by themselves into technology, developing
Technology.
centers of their own within India and overseas also, so that they are also getting the global, skill sets which are required. So I think this is broadly how I would look at it from the OEM point of view. When it auto component, profitability comes with, if you are built to print vendor, over the period of time, OEM is going to know the last mile pricing for you. And in that, it is very difficult for any, auto component maker to continue to remain profitable, especially for example,
Profitable.
when we have
Yes.
geopolitical situation to deal with, Shruti, you will see that very clearly. OEM will not settle the prices with the tier one or
Tier 2. Right.
immediately for the prices which are coming to them either for raw material, logistic, forex, or any of those. And many a times when they settle the prices, they don't settle and give full. So
Right.
tier one who is going to be smart to handle this situation in a very careful way is only going to remain
To be
profitable. I think
profitable. Yes.
two very important aspects, both on OEM and the auto components. If that gets you the answer.
Yes, and that's very insightful. And the examples also really, helped the audience and myself also to, get the question around this. How
Sure.
profitable today, the expansion and the expansion and scale is much less important than being profitable. The being profitable is on top at this point in the market.
Yeah.
So the automotive sector is currently, witnessing significant disruption and transformation across global markets.
Yeah.
So, what do you think, Mr. Mahajan? How can legacy automotive businesses, like businesses who are, 100-year-old businesses, 50-year-old businesses, stay relevant and competitive in such a rapidly changing environment?
I think it's again a very intelligent thing to deliberate among the auto space, both in OEM and tier one space, because then automatically tier two and tier three, the same thing get cascaded down.
Right.
If I look at it from a very larger perspective, you mentioned about United States car companies, General Motors and Ford brought the automotive into the world. Then came Daimler, and the West brought that technology know-how,
Right.
and also the evolution of automotive in both EV as well as commercial vehicle space.
Hmm.
Smartly, Japanese followed it and then transformed it, right?
Right.
And third came Koreans. They
Yes.
learned from Japan and they learned, built onto it. Today,
Right.
China. Now, Chinese car companies have also understood that what were the shortcomings of these three generational changes. And in this process, what they have done is they have made two significant changes. First, the speed of change for adding the feature to the vehicle or the product and offering that to a customer at a subsidized price, which government offers them the support. That's a separate matter, and we don't want to bring this subject into this particular subject.
Right.
But this is something which is very critical for an OEM to look at. Now, Tata and Mahindra in last 6 years, thankfully, with the leadership who they are today or they are currently, they have understood that change very clearly. And these automakers, those who are in the country for over 50, 60, 70 years, have brought that transformation. Luckily for Indian economy, auto component space, and the OEM at the perfect time. Post-COVID, you can see the change. I don't need to detail
Agree.
more, right?
Yes.
But I see a challenge in this case for two-wheeler space, because two-wheeler space was not ready when the in the legacy space when EV transformation was coming in. And that's how Ola and Ather kind of a brands could make their entry into the business space. And
Right.
all the large OEM, we have 3 or 4 large OEM, apart from the 3 Indian OEM, Honda plays a very vital role. Rest of the brands are premium in nature or and has got limited volume. So they, in this particular case, have caught up with the change in their own pace. Now, if one has to remain relevant in this case, they learned it, but you should not be late to react. For example, I will give you an example. Both for OEM as well as the auto component space, government introduced PLI scheme, FAME, PM EV technology related matters. And most of these companies took the decision a little late. Whereas someone like Ola and others jump onto this very quickly. Of course, there
Right.
were issues related to the settlement with the claims and other things, and many of those, let's say makers, those who tried making the best of this, did not do it in the right way. Hence, they are getting penalized in this process.
Right.
But these three, I always say that they have also now caught up, and today number 1, 2, 3 ranking is held by the
These companies.
yeah, the
Yes.
running or the let's say the established OEMs, 2-wheeler OEMs in the country. So
Yes.
that's important to learn the change is coming, and if you have not caught it at the right time, react very quickly. And I
Right.
can give you more examples. In 2008, the people those who have been in the automotive industry has seen when Lehman Brothers happened, and we had a huge recession in that industry. You know, motor makers like General Motors, Ford, they had huge brands, and in which the same product was introduced in 3, 4, 5 even brands.
Right.
And you have each brand to feed when it comes to branding, manpower, engineering, and so on and so forth. And they smartly at that point of time killed some of them or
Yes.
sold some of the companies, right?
Yes.
Uh, so I always say that industry gives you second chance,
Yes.
provided you have not washed off your cash flows in this process to go bankrupt.
Right.
There are many companies, those who have in 0708, including Automotive, either sold their brands or they kind of closed down their shops. And some of the premium brands today, for example, Austin Martin, are struggling. They don't because a standalone brand would always have its struggle, though they have been legacy, but they could not sustain that. And I am confident that many in this case would see, for example, VW has Porsche as well as Skoda brands to support the engineering cost across the brand, for example,
Brand.
right?
Yes.
Similarly, for other brands also, Mercedes has Maybach, and so on and so forth. So every car brand, Nissan has Infinity. So every brand makes a premium brand in which they would remain relevant in legacy business, as well as they would also, make
Remain ahead in the market.
transition very quickly,
Right.
taking you from either competition or if they can internally learn that process. Yes.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. I agree with you. And
Yeah.
adapting to the change is one of the biggest priorities of for the traditional businesses today also.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I think auto component space is somewhere struggling in this particular case, in the legacy case, if I may say, in India especially, because if you see the transition from 2007 till 2015, 2020, major auto component players across the globe either got merged,
Right. Or shut down.
sold himself to large auto component companies who had either appetite, including one from India,
Right.
Samvardhan Group, Motherson Sumi or Sumi Motherson Group, and they got completely out of the business in spite of having
Yes.
technology. Now,
Yes.
legacy businesses, if in auto component space, are not investing into technology, you will not be able to sustain your businesses beyond a point. And I can tell you,
Yes.
because I consult the companies, this is where I come in, and there are 2 or 3 aspects which auto component space promoters are struggling right now. They have either challenge related to succession.
Yes.
Second, they have challenge related to technology centers not available with them because they have not invested 2 or 3% of their EBITDA margin in last 10 years time.
Right.
And third, even if they have succession, they have not professionalized the organization. Fourth, even if they have professionalized the organization, the promoter remains very, very
Very.
involved in the business. I always say promoters should be part of the decision making on the high level, once a month review. Bring the right professional, give him the freedom, allow him to run, because professional has stake in this particular case. But if a promoter or his son is running the company, they don't have that, let's say uh, I don't want to say the pain, but they would not have the zeal to perform out of their stomach.
Out of them. Right. Right.
First generation entrepreneur, you name, there'll be 20, 30, 40 after Maruti Suzuki came into India.
Yes.
If you talk about the second generation, I can say handful because I'm 35 years in the industry. Handful of the
Yes.
second generation, those who are now getting into the business and can be called capable successors.
Enough.
Other than
Yes.
that, so they are, if you say legacy auto businesses, if they want to stay relevant, especially in the auto component space, and I'm talking about India in specific right now, they have to find, if, okay, let me give you an example. Sorry, I'm just quoting the
Sure.
example that it is easy for audience to
That's
understand.
helpful, sir. Yes. Please.
Let's look at our Indian auto component space. Can you imagine we have less than 15 companies which are bigger than $1 billion? Less than 15 companies. And in auto component space, we have over 500 auto component companies, over 500. Now, many have started their journey 30, 40, 50 years ago. So first generation businessmen reached a certain stage in their professional career, but 600, 700, 400, 150 to 600, 700 crore, and they are stagnant.
Yes.
So this is where they are struggling to. I said 4 things. One, if they don't have succession. B, they have succession, but they are not giving them freedom to get into the business properly. Third, not professionalizing the organization to allow the professionals to run the company, and they being at the board position, running the apex to understand if the things are being planned, and then they are going into the achieving the numbers or not. Because in this case, a professional comes into play. For example, I was CEO for my last company. In 15 days, I set up 1 year, 3 year, 5 year plan. And then 1 year is the business plan. 3 year and 5 year plan has to be something for which organization has to look towards. And if situation changes because of geopolitical reason or any other reason, one has to make the adjustment how to still achieve that objective, but not to lose the sight of what is the objective of organization. So if organization says that from 700 crores they would like to go to 2000 crore, and they have made the milestone in this regard between, let's say, 1, 3, and 5 years, they have to have that review mechanism and also appetite to invest.
Invest.
Where legacy businesses today are, some are growing and others
And
are
some.
stuck in the same
Right.
spaces. Sorry,
Right. Right.
if that gives any better understanding.
What I wanted to ask next, you very much almost answered that, but again, if you would like to add something. So you have successfully led several, business transformation and turnaround initiatives throughout your career.
Yeah.
So based on your experience, what do you think separates successful businesses transformations from those that fail? You almost answered that question, but yet again.
I think there are few points which we have to consider very carefully as a businessman, and I will focus right now more on the auto component space in India because I think that could be much more relevant and useful. Unfortunately, businesses do not retain the funds in their own business. This is one key reason for the successful business from failed one.
Right.
And I think if you hear Mr. Bhargava from Maruti Suzuki or the veterans of industry, they would continue to educate, help, advise people to say, you want to keep a war chest of cash, it is fine. But if you divert the cash from the organization, that's something which is going to bring trouble sooner than later. And
Right.
if you look at today organizations, they are reaching a plateau where 450, 500, 600 crore of revenue, and either they don't have appetite to spend in the tech center because owner at some point of time, because of the four reasons which I stated,
Yes.
is satisfied making 4 to 10 crore rupees at the end of the year to live his lifestyle.
Yes.
But at the same time, without bringing the professional who can run the organizations for them, set the I don't say ambitious, but progressive and also challenging targets on which the professional will take the organization to the next level. They would always find the challenge of investing into the organization when it requires either for a new plant, technology center, even attracting the right talent to come to the organization and work for them.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
So these three factors on the fund diversion or fund being not made available when the organization requires to grow is something which is very, very, very critical. Second, and I always give this thumb rule, I always say between 2 to 5% of EBITDA. If you are a small organization, you have to put more. If you are a larger organization, 2% is sufficient of your margin. Now, the successful organization in this case has learned one more thing. They have ran ahead of technology for themselves. So from the supplier who is only a build to print vendor has learned that he cannot make money on the continuous basis because today OEM ask for various things. They ask for year-on-year reduction. They ask for annual price reduction. They ask VEVA reductions. They ask turnover discounts. And sometimes they ask business allocation, incentive. Now, even if you have taken a business, for example, at hypothetically 12 to 15% EBITDA margin, by the third year, the business will be, because of your labor cost and various other overheads and expenses going into inflation cost itself, and now government has increased 35% of the wages and so on. So you will have your margin coming to low single digit. If these companies have not looked at how they are going to increase the technology capability of the company so that they can offer a comprehensive solution or a system solution rather offering build to print, these companies, owner may think that they will enjoy their 4 to 10 crore rupees of profit for long, but in my opinion, out of these 500 vendors, possibly 100 may get phased out in next 15 years itself.
Right.
Now, what's happening in this regard is a very interesting transition. The same companies are acquired by PE funds.
Yes.
Without emotions, they come into that business, and that's where I also come in sometime. They acquire a company with the majority stake or a minority stake, bring in a professional CEO, add the companies which are complementing or making the basket of the profitable customer by acquiring the company, by bringing the technology, by bringing, let's say, the products which are going to be exported out of the country so that they can use the profitability.
Right.
Now, how this same company, they are able to perform from 12-13% EBITDA to 20% EBITDA
20%.
by they don't have any magic wand. They have
Yes.
basically financial discipline, right people running the organization, and most importantly in this case, reading for future what will be this organization situation for next 3 to 5 years, because they typically would like to encash the the organization growth in 5 years time, hand over to somebody who would like to buy it at that price and move on. So this is something which is very important, Shruti, which you asked me, what separates from successful business transformation to failed. And
Right.
many are today selling if they don't have A, the succession, or B, the now the, let's say, capability to think three,
That
five.
zeal, that zeal which you mentioned.
So I think this is something which is very, very important, in my opinion, for auto component space to learn from the success of European or the American side, why they became so large, the auto component
Hmm.
space. Now, look at, I mean, I'm so glad to give the example of India's most successful auto component maker today, Mr. Chan Sehgal. I mean, we have interacted since 1997 because when I was the head of Toyota purchase, he that time itself had the vision. He was about 450 odd crore company, and today, we are crossing 20 billion dollars across the globe auto component space. He always used to say, we will operate at the leadership level where we will make the strategy, bring the right people to operate, and we will always have technology which is going to have higher value add for OEM so that they can pay me a better money.
Yes.
Right? So this is something which he has, which businessmen like him, and there are a few more examples in the country, those who have understood that trick of trade and made sure that they are continuously evolving themselves in this space to remain successful, profitable, and also, I think that example of he giving over to his son at the right age is also a great
Yes.
example. But his son is not into
Yes.
business daily dealing with the customer. He's at the apex level to deal with the OEM customers, strategy, acquisitions, and so on and so forth. I think so. I would say these are very critical decision for a company to evolve themselves, and that's where consultant like us or a professional like us comes into play for advising the business houses.
Absolutely great, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Mahajan, for taking out the time to share your valuable insights and the experiences that you have had uh, in your career. It was wonderful having you with us at Infollion Expert podcast series, and yes, it's a pleasure to have you, sir. And thank you so much. Thank you so
So
much.
it was a pleasure to share my thoughts with you, and I'll be happy to take any questions if any of your audience would like to ask later on the subject.
Definitely, sir. Definitely. Thank you so much for your time, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, you're closing the recording.